have said before that the neurodivergent child who enjoys school is often a red flag. What I mean by this is that we mustn't be deceived by how the child presents on the surface. What I should have said as well is the neurodivergent child who seems to enjoy school is often a red flag. A willingness to attend school is not necessarily indicative of a person who actually enjoys school. Masking is an involuntary trauma response whereby an individual's authentic self becomes enveloped by a guise consistent with the environment. Alas, masking is a process we should all take very seriously. The reason I find masking so sinister and pernicious is that the mask itself is often accepted by and benefits the people in the environment at the expense of the individual doing the masking. When a teacher describes an autistic child or student as fine, they have demonstrated an unbelievably shallow analysis, evincing some equally shallow principles. That's all it takes, is it? Good attendance and polite passive behaviour? Does the individual's well-being not matter at all? Perhaps I should have said as well that the term "they are fine" is a red flag, as this implies that the child's behaviour has met the standard of the school and that no further investigation is required. The pattern one cannot help detect is that who a person truly is down deep in their heart does not matter. So long as a person's behaviour is up to snuff, who cares what a person is going through underneath, eh? Some autistic people rush into school, work, or some other place in which their true self is neither valued or accepted. This at a glance may appear as though they not only want to attend, but that they love attending said places and do so with utmost enthusiasm. Again, this is where the truly sinister and pernicious nature of masking lies. The mask is deceptive in a number of ways, much to the consternation of the parent of the autistic child. For the autistic child themselves, it works. The teacher says they're fine in school. Well, this is precisely the aim. The masking child is so smart, they know exactly what to do to fool the people in charge of the institutions and, whilst they're at it, expose the shallowness of the institution's values and principles. Attend, behave politely, and no one will ever question me. The mask is deceptive in other ways too. For example, as I said before, the enthusiasm with which autistic people attend these places that just aren't right for them. It isn't that they want to attend so much as they want to attend. The individual's true self, buried underground, recognises that the environment is not right. The masking individual is not guided by their true self, though, which they have forsaken and discarded and declared invalid, null and void. They have accumulated a vast evidence base over the years, of which the theme is very similar. It is not safe to be the real me in the world. I do not belong in the real world. So there are two options. Either remain in a place in which one can be their true authentic self, which is often limited, i.e. within the confines of one's bedroom walls, or enter the world concealed from view. I have often theorised as to how the autistic individual who stays in all day could have the stronger attachment to their true self than the autistic person who is out in the world. The thing is, the autistic person who is out in the world will be assumed to be the happier of the two for obvious reasons. This is yet another reason masking is so important to understand. The mask itself is often in harmony with the values of society, not just in how it appears, but in how it operates. The masking individual is not guided by their true self, they are guided by their mask. The mask compels the individual to get out in the world or to a particular place. Why? Because the mask is not self-regulating. The mask thrives on certain feedback from the environment. The core of the mask does not lie in behaviour. The behaviours we associate with masking stem from what one might call the ego ideal. As young, naive, vulnerable autistic children, we venture out into a world that does not accommodate us as our true selves, and we get stung as a result. We then either barricade ourselves in a safe space, or for those of us who are driven to be a part of the world and to be accepted by others, the parts of our true self that were stung by the environment become enveloped by this new construct that blends in with the environment. The ego ideal, during our childhood, is essentially the ultimate neurotypical person who becomes an internalised, visible fixture in our minds. It is a distillation of all of the seemingly beneficial qualities, behaviours and characteristics we observe in those around us. From the moment the neurotypical ideal is internalised in our minds, we then dedicate our lives to emulating it. It becomes our ultimate saviour, more important than most things in our lives, the Godhead, as it were. Like I said, The mask itself is not a self-regulating phenomenon, and so the mask feeds off of certain feedback in the environment. The teacher who congratulates the autistic child for handing in their homework feels amazing. The mask is happy and bolstered because the praise from the teacher is evidence that the mask is working. The PDAer who does not mask would be intolerant to this kind of praise due to the teacher attempting to bring about a false representation of who they are. But the masking PDA would be fine with this type of praise because their trauma wants to develop a new version of themselves, and the teacher is literally helping them to do that. That's masking in a nutshell. The environment pressures the individual to mask. Some of us do buckle and capitulate, whilst others remain steadfast in their authenticity and fuck the environment off. The mask can be dented also. Should the other staff members at the autistic adult's place of work comment on the autistic adult being weird? No. I have failed. The mask has failed me. My quirks and vulnerability have been spotted. When the mask fails, what is essentially happening is a double whammy of invalidation. The true self is in a perpetual state of invalidation, given the significant trauma once sustained, giving rise to the mask in the first place. But then, for the mask itself to fail, the defense mechanism that was meant to keep the individual safe from harm, disaster. So before you categorically decide that the autistic person in your life truly enjoys school or their place of work, think about it for a moment. Granted, there is a chance they genuinely do enjoy themselves and are reaping the benefits from these environments accordingly. But many of them are not enjoying these environments and find them just as invalidating as the autistic people who stay at home. What we are witnessing is not enjoyment, it's a form of addiction. They are masking, and their mask is not a self-regulating construct. They don't want, they want to want. They have abandoned and forsaken and discarded their true authentic self and are now totally reliant upon the mask as their counterfeit sense of self. In order for the mask to stay alive, it must obtain feedback from the environments in which the autistic person strives to blend in with. In many cases, we are not witnessing an autistic person who feels truly at home in conventional schools or workplaces. What we are witnessing is an individual desperate to be accepted, and their masks addiction to certain feedback from the environment. Because the autistic individual self-identifies so strongly with the mask and not their true authentic self, the failure of the mask makes the individual feel like they're going to die, hence the apparent enthusiasm with which they rush into school or work, successfully deceiving everyone around them into thinking they actually enjoy these environments. And so I stand by my words. The neurodivergent child who enjoys school is often a red flag.